friends, it's Pat Sloan here, and it is Block Wednesday, our ode to the national parks. So a few other things. First, I want to remind you about the Make-A-Wish raffle is up. You can go buy a raffle ticket for all 4 quilts or just 1 quilt. My quilt is what's pictured here when you go to the raffle page. I showed you that whole thing the other day. I went through on the video, showed you how to do the raffle. But you'll click the title and then you can bid $5 or however many tickets you want for each of the quilts that you want to bid on. And it ends at the end of this week, it was end Friday, I think. So you want to be sure that you are in on it, that you get in on it. And thank you so very much to all of you for donating to Make-A-Wish, which helps ill children have a wish of their own during these very, very stressful times in their lives. So it is so cool, such a cool thing for us to participate in. All right, let's do Ode to the National Park first. And our second block, here it is. It's Size Matters. And it is a traditional Lady of the Lake block. That's the very traditional name for this block is Lady of the Lake. And let me digress a tiny little bit here, because we have a few new people, I guess, who don't maybe haven't followed me before and don't really understand how things work. I do a quilt along where I put out 9 blocks for this particular one. I give you the layout in advance so that you can see it. So here's the layout with the supply list. It's all together, so you have all of that in advance. And then each of the blocks is named around a theme, because that just makes it more fun. It makes it more fun rather than me just saying, here's block 1 and that's it. How fun is that? It's not fun at all. So having a theme, like I had Grandma's Kitchen or Fall Frolic, we did a space theme one, so that every week there's just a little discussion that has to do around the theme, which makes it just so much more fun. Okay, so our theme is called Size Matters, and I have to read off of here because I just didn't memorize it, okay? So there are big parks and there are little parks, and there is every range in between. So I went and looked up, what do you think is the largest national park, the largest park in the national park system? Okay, it is Wrangell St. Ellis National Park and Preserve in Alaska. So if you have been to that preserve, that park, leave me a note here at YouTube or when you share your block. Say if you've been to either the largest or now the smallest national park. The smallest is Thaddeus Kosciuszko's National Memorial in Philadelphia. So that one is a memorial in the national park system, and that is the smallest unit that they have. So if you've been to either of those, share it, and when you share your block, you can also put it there. But don't make a post just saying that in the quilt group, because we won't approve it. So it's just too random. People don't know what's going on. Yeah, I know. But a lot of the people in my Facebook group don't actually quilt along with us or even follow my videos. So they kind of get, thrown for a loop. All right, so what am I going to use for mine? Gratitude and Grace. Let's look at that. This is my fabric line. And because it is a Lady of the Lake block, and there are many, 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 many lakes in our national park systems, I thought I would use the blues. So I want to show you some combinations. So first, I kind of pulled all the blues. I did plaid in the first one, so I'm not going to do plaid again. But I pulled out sort of some significant prints. So for this one, I will do it light and dark, just like the block, light and dark. Let me get the bigger one. There we go. So I'll do light and dark. So if this is the dark, I could go for the light here, or I could go with the background like that. Now, what other prints do I have? I have these medium tones. Now you could also do this. And I believe a lot of you do this kind of a thing. This is sort of the lacy print here. This is the lacy print, and actually this print is pulled that design I pulled from the background in here. It's that same design, just made as its own print. And so a lot of people do this. They're very tone on tone. They're going to read very solid when you step back a few steps. And so I that isn't my preferred way of working. I need a, you know, these are big shapes. I need a little bit more going on. So if I'm using this one, I could then go with one of the light prints. Like that looks really good. I could do this blue. Look at that. That looks, and this has got the butterflies in it. Or I could do the paisley with the flowers. So these are 3 options. And it really, you know, at this point for me, it doesn't matter, but I'm definitely going to go with, I think this is the dark and one of these 3. This one's kind of speaking to me for some reason. But so is this one. So is that one. Okay, I'm going to do this. That was kind of like when I put this out the first time. I think sometimes you know when you just go, oh, okay, you put 2 fabrics together and you go, oh, look at that. And that's what I felt like when I put these 2 together. So that is the 2 I'm going to use for this one. Now I also have the what is it called? Seaside, or yeah, seaside fabric. Let me grab that. Okay. The other fabric is called Shoreline, and it has 3 shades of blue, and this one has a lot of lights in it. And so I'm definitely going to use the lights and the you know, the light prints, one of the light prints. There is a white, but I'm not going to use that. I'm not going to use the pieces I already used before. They're for block number 1. So there is a really dark, there's a super cool, oh, this is super cool, the plaid. Now this is a fat 8th, and so personally I don't know if out of the fat 8th I can get that whole block. I think I can, but I didn't do the math. I kind of like that. I kind of like that plaid. And then maybe over here, could do a very geometric. You could do plaid and a dot like that. I could, you know, there's the small print. Excuse me, I got like a tickle in my throat. This is directional, so I don't think I'll pick that one today. This one has a more dense print like that. Or I could look at the lighter blue and the navy, something like this. That's kind of neat. That is kind of neat. I'm kind of liking that. There's another one of the navies. But this is, I'm going to see what I can do with this. Maybe not. Maybe I'll switch over. Maybe I'll switch over. It's a big, there's the big floral. I might do that. Okay. I'm going to switch. I'm going to go to these 2 for the other block. So what I'm going to do now is I will cut all this up and make the 2 blocks, and then we'll look at them with block number 1. So I'm doing this part first. This is making the 2 large half square triangles, which are only going to use 1, and I am going to use the leftover part, cut part of that up for the smaller half square triangles. And I also don't have a trimming sort of ruler that works for this, so I'm going to, you know, trim it the old-fashioned way. So here I have to cut on the line, right? So cut the 2 units apart. You sew it on either side like that. And so normally if I have a trimming tool, and I know you can do it with these, but I don't feel like figuring it out. It's way more work than I want to do. But normally I'd have a trimming tool with some lines here I'd put on there and trim. But I don't have a trimming tool that is for a finished 9-inch block. And so what I will do is go to the iron and press, I'm going to press to the dark side. Press 1 open and then trim it afterwards. It's pressed open. I'm taking my 12.5-inch ruler. I'm taking this diagonal line, the diagonal line on your ruler, exactly on the seam, and you want to have a 9.5 inch square when you're done. And so probably, you know, you're going to be trimming, you might be trimming all 4 sides like I am, which is kind of, I find sometimes the much more accurate way. Sometimes 2 of your sides are really good, and so you can just use those as your base. But I'm going to go ahead and trim all 4 sides and then rotate this. And now it's at 9.5. So everything was just past 9.5 before. Okay, so I've got my 9.5. And then I will trim these other 2 sides. Whoops, I slid the ruler there, didn't I? There we go. Did I get it? Yeah, I did. Okay, so it's just right there. So I've got the 9.5. Now, I also pressed open this one, and the smaller ones are 3.5. And so first thing I can do is see how much I can get off either end. So I'm going to go as far out on here. The diagonal line is on here. I want to go out, get right on the edge, so there's very little waste, because I'm going to see if I can squeeze a third one out of here. Here's one, and it's not perfect. Right there I have to trim a little bit more, so I flip it around, trim off this little bit here like that. So there we go. See, I had to get a little bit more off of there. So now I've got the other end. So let's rotate it. Okay, so I've got one of my squares, put it up there. Now I will do another square, and I'm right out at the edge, the 3.5. Probably having a light issue there. Okay, so I'm at the 3.5 here, and actually that's at the 3.5. This is really good. Be sure your diagonal stays on the diagonal. All right, and I'm just carefully like cutting here. And then you can pull that away if you like, because I don't want to cut into this if I don't have to, because I need to see. I'm going to cut the little dog ear off. So that means I've got 2. So what do I got here? No, I didn't think it was, but all right. So that means I can cut my 4-inch squares. I'm just going to take this, okay, and fold it, and I'm going to cut a 4-inch square to make 2 half square triangles. So cut here and here, which means there's just these pieces I didn't use from the other half of this, since I'm only making 1 block. So I will make, and I'll have to do more. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, and we need 8. So I have to cut more of these. So let me do that and show you the finished block. Here is my Size Matters block for Ode to the National Parks. Now you will have, where is it? You will have 1 extra half square triangle for your parts center, or maybe you might use it in another block, you know, trim it down somehow, keep it just in case. You never know that you might fit in with your fabric somewhere else. Okay, so you also want to be able to go out and watch Kendall Taylor, my friend Kendall Taylor's videos. He sews along with my Block Wednesdays, and he actually sews through the projects and does a step-by-step, and he's a lot of fun. So if you want to go out, and he does a bunch of other videos, you can go watch those. All right, now we need to talk about the other fabric, because there's a little bit of a challenge. Let's just call it a challenge because that fabric collection, this fabric collection is a fat 1/8, which is half of a fat 1/4, and this is not 10 inches wide. So what do when you are working with some fabric that you end up with a piece or 2 in the project that is not going is bigger than what your fabric width is, or your fabric length, or whatever. So we're going to get creative, because I'm not going to not use the fabric, right? And I didn't buy really extra. I only bought that for a border. So I have to be a little bit creative. So what did I pick? I had picked these 2 here, right? So I picked these 2 here. And what I need to do is I need to get both of these pieces big enough so that I can cut the 10-inch squares in order to do those bigger half square triangles. So you can do 1 of 2 things, or 2 of 5 things, or however many things you want to think of. But let me just show you some options. You could do a 4 patch. So let's say I just picked, okay, let's say I picked, not that one. Oh, here, let's do this one. This will be good. So maybe I want to do a 4 patch. That'd be 5.5, 5.5, 5.5, 5.5. And then it'll be big enough for my 10 inches, you know, so that I can cut. Let me just mock up. Hold on. Okay, I got a blue. I don't know what I was thinking when I pulled the white. So I've got 2 blues. So I would have 2 of these squares and 2 of these squares, and I would alternate. So then I would have a big 4 patch, and for the navy, and I will cut what I need out of that 4 patch. And you can make them just a little bit bigger if you want it, because when you sew the 4 of them, it'll be a 10-inch square, which is exactly what you need. And for the navy one, I can do these 2, which I think but look really, really fabulous. You also could do 2.5-inch squares, so that you have a 5 by 5 checkerboard, 2.5 across by 2.5 down, and that'll give you a much more patchworky type of unit, which I think would be super, super cool. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to cut. So let me cut it, and I'll show you what it'll look like. Here is what the dark looks like with 2 different ones, and it gives a really dense patchworky. I didn't want the dark to have a high contrast, but if you were using the lights and patchwork, that's what it would look like. So I'm going to sew these together because I'm going to use both, this for the light and this for the dark. Now, if you don't want to sew up the light, you could just use your background fabric for the light in this block. That would be really great if you're using a fat 1/8 and you're having to do something. I also was able to cut the 4 half-square triangles out of the navy floral, this navy floral, and then this from the fat 1/8 is all I have left. So that's it. So I'm going to cut these up. And I'm going to sew, I've already cut them. I'm going to sew them and show you what it looks like. So here they are, 2 checkerboard blocks. And you can see with the darks, I want to show you the contrast. High contrast, really low contrast. Low contrast means both the fabrics are the same navy and they're really close in color. And so it's going to look less like patchwork than this one will. So what we're going to do is make this big block here, and you do not need to cut these down. Just press them good, put them right sides together like this, and then I will be doing, the line on either side so that I can flip it over, and it will look like that. So that's pretty much what I'm doing. So now this is where I said if you didn't want to patchwork this one, then you could just use your background fabric like that, and you could have this side as a patchwork. All right, I'm going to go ahead and make this block. Doesn't this look fun? Has that checkerboard up there, and this is using the fat 1/8. So if you have a fat 1/8 bundle, or you just have a piece that doesn't have a 10-inch wide to do this, it works. You can just do a little checkerboard like this. I just kept these simple, but you could have made these scrappy too. You could have put some of these blues in here. I could have put some of my other ones in there, but I decided to just keep it simple. And then here's the one with gratitude and grace. There we go. Okay. I want to do a little quilt parade of some of your quilts from block 1, and that's not going to leave any time for the Jolly Bar, Christmas Jolly Bar. So we'll do Christmas Jolly Bar tomorrow. So come back tomorrow because we have London Town and we'll have the Christmas Jolly Bar on Thursday. So let's take a look at some of your block 1. We start out with Amy and a coffee theme. Oh my goodness, these are all going to be so great. Just hold on. Here we go. Here April is with the sort of national park fabrics. A bunch of you have dug out your national park fabrics, and it's just amazing. Look at the little bears in the plaid. Oh my gosh, so cute. Dawn's is a beautiful butterfly in the middle. Just gorgeous, gorgeous colors in this one. Deborah, fall. Look at the mushies, the little mushrooms and acorns. Ah, so good, so good. And Diane's pretty in pink. Of course, I like it on that gray gingham you got under there. Wow, look at that. You might have to think about adding a little gray in there. That looks good. Erin's is absolutely gorgeous. Look at this. Bare center just perfectly. And a lot of you are using what you have, which has been so fabulous to hear. James is using batiks. Look at the purple and yellow. Just beautiful. Jane #1 has more of the national park fabrics. There's the bears in the middle, and she framed that out. Can you see that? So that she had, just the part that she wanted. Super clever. Very, very clever. Jane #2 has another gorgeous gray, yellow, very pale pink, peach. Beautiful colors. Jody's, some park-like fabric. Oh, look at this. I love that fabric with the campers and the trees and the canoes and the tents. Where are we at? Jody. Okay, that's Jody. Okay, Joyce, beautiful deer in the middle. That blue looks really good. I love that. You're pulling the blue from the background, and she said she's using the fabrics that she has. Carla is going to make a Christmas quilt with her national park. See, I want to show you, this is just fabulous. You can use any kind of fabrics. It doesn't have to be woodsy at all. And I'm sure that there is snow in Christmas at every single one of, or not every single one. There's Christmas at all the national parks, but there's snow at so many of them. Kathy's doing Halloween. There you go. There you go. Super cute. Love that. Kendall, our ambassador Kendall, my friend who does the videos, here is his beautiful block, and you can go and see him making that at his YouTube channel. So there you go. Leah did my Gratitude and Grace fabric, but she used different pieces than I did, and look how fantastic it looks. Totally different than mine. Linda's is gorgeous oranges, and that crane in the middle is just beautiful fabric. Pam decided that she would also make 2 at a time because it's just one block and they're simple. So there you go. I love her purple, and then she did a block very much like mine, maybe exactly, yeah, for her first one. Patsy's, look there, she's got her passport, National Wildlife Refuge passport. She says she's a birder, and this fabric lines are from the Cotton Liberty of London's put out by Riley Blake. Okay, Sharon's first, here is her block with the autumn. Love that. So much fussy cutting you guys are doing. Just fantastic. But Sharon also decided that this would be a great block for a baby quilt she had to make. Bingo, bingo, bingo. Look at this. This is so darling. Now I want to make one immediately. Yes, immediately. Sharon is using, looks like some batiks. That fish looks like a batik in the middle, maybe the blue watery stuff on the outside, but that looks like fish and water. Just gorgeous. Cheryl has her all of her sashings that she's made up. Look at this. So good. Now she can start building this as she goes along. So you're making great progress. 2 more. Suzanne, our moderator. Look at our ambassador Suzanne, my friend. So look at this fussy cutting. Oh my gosh, I love that piece of fabric. Little mushroom, squirrel, little house in a house. Oh my goodness. And our ambassador Yvonne, my friend Yvonne, with her block #1 in blues. Just amazing. Okay, thank you everybody for all of your wonderful national park blocks. And there are so many more on our Facebook group. Quilt Along with Pat Sloan, the community. You guys just had so much fun. There was so much fussy cutting and super cool fabric combinations. Many of you going, I wasn't going to do this one, but I had fabric that's really going to work. And they're just darling. And I'm so thrilled to have you join in and have so many more people than it seems than usual. It's great. It's so great. It's just 9 blocks and a little bit of sashing. All right, my friend, it is time for size matters. Big parks, little parks, and all the sizes in between at our national park system. So I love you. Mwah. Thank you for being here in the Sloan Zone. I will see you online.